What's good, everybody? Do not adjust your YouTubes. It's Cameron here, Andy's assistant coach. It's not Andy. Back with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Passport Bros movement. This is from a comment that someone left on my last video. If guys have questions, then we'll leave them in the comments. Who knows, I may make a video specifically for you about the chosen topic. Before we get into the topic, I want to remind you all that Andy and I offer coaching in a group coaching program. There will be information in the details down below. Also, Andy is offering $200 coaching calls, which kind of serve as an introduction to his coaching services. They'll also help you get a plan for whatever you're working on. We asked the guys in the group currently what the unique selling point of the coaching program is, and I want to read out the best response, or my favorite response to you now. This guy said the biggest one is a set of sincere, heartfelt coaches who actually know who you are, take the time to understand your situation. He feels like he has a relationship with us, and he genuinely appreciates that. That's so cool. So yeah, the information is down below if you're interested in that and you want to kickstart your self-improvement journey and your life in general. Back to the topic, Passport Bros. So the comment that we had on this was from a guy, Suleiman G8, nice name. Hey Andy or Cam, can you guys make a video regarding the Passport Bros movement? I'd like some videos on dating overseas and also why women overseas are better than Western women. So when I hear the word Passport Bros, I think what I think of first is like the Roosh V kind of stuff where guys are scouting the best places to go and live for dating. If that's incorrect, let me know. But the idea behind, if you're not enjoying the dating environment that you currently live in, you can choose to move abroad. As part of your decision, it will be because you're going to be moving to a dating pool that you prefer. And do I think it's a bad thing to move for better dating? Obviously, no. If you've seen any of my content before, you'll know that me and Andy actually push guys to move out of bad situations into situations where we think they could have more success. They could play the numbers game easier. They could just generally enjoy themselves more, which is going to help with their motivation and their momentum. Typically, though, that advice is more for guys who live in the middle of nowhere. So if you live in like bumfuck nowhere, Kansas, and you can probably picture yourself moving to New York City, yeah, Andy and I are going to suggest that you move to the big metropolitan city with millions of people, and you have a massive online dating pool. You have a lot of opportunities to cold approach, footfall for day game, bars for night game. It would be typically better for you to put yourself in a large city. But the idea of moving country to an easier place to date, I don't have any real issue with this either. I don't see why I would have an issue with this as someone who's kind of done this personally. The only thing I would say here is I would hope for the security of your own self-confidence and your own sense of self-worth that you have the knowledge that you can succeed anywhere. I do want guys to strive to self-improve, to build themselves up in terms of their body, their physique, their overall looks, their style. Then also build up their dating ability. So, their ability to get leads, like build up a really good online dating profile, or just destroy their cold approach anxiety so they can actually talk to girls, maybe build their social circle ability, then build their ability on dates, their ability to actually get girls from a date back to theirs, have sex, and progress to a relationship from there if they want. All of these things, I would like you to have the security of knowing you can do this anywhere in the world. Because if you're the guys who get really good at this stuff, they have that security, they have that abundance mentality. That would be amazing. However, I also don't hate the idea of someone going somewhere that's a bit easier just to build up experience. Because where you build experience of this isn't particularly important. As long as you get a lot of experience and play a lot of the numbers game and build up your level in general, it doesn't really matter where you do this, because those skills are going to be transferable, even if you may need to be try harder in what are considered harder countries in terms of their dating. At the end of the day, your enjoyment is also paramount. I want guys to enjoy their dating lives. I want everyone to have an abundance of love and life. And if part of that is you moving to another country, I understand where you're coming from, It's not the only decision that made me leave the UK, but it's one of the decisions that made me leave the UK was that I'm just not a fan of the dating pool there. Your enjoyment is definitely paramount. And if you're someone like me or someone like Andy who's done a lot of dating, maybe I'm talking to more advanced guys here. If you've been ethically non-monogamous for a while, if you've played the numbers game hard like you have to really get good at this, you're going to have an idea of the average girl that you meet. in terms of like, if you've done a lot of dates over the year, you'll know sort of the average of who you meet, the average sort of girl that you sleep with. And it is true that in different countries, that average will be different, just based on whether or not you're like considered more attractive in different countries, whether or not the country is just an easier place to date, and those do exist. Yeah, it's going to be a case of, especially for the experienced guys, we just know which, like, which areas are easy to date in and which aren't. My hesitancy is when like inexperienced guys say this sort of thing. It's like, I don't think you know if you've self-improved to a point where you know well enough, but I'm willing to give guys the benefit of the doubt, and especially if they really want to move out of their country. It's fine. As I mentioned, I don't like dating in the UK. I moved back from Australia like 3 years ago now, and I went straight to Manchester where I could get a central city flat, and I decided I'm going to try and make it work. Yeah, I'm going to date as heavily as I can in Manchester while I was also working on other things. And it was an attempt to make it work. And I realized after 8 months, I just did not enjoy it. I made it work to a degree. I played the numbers game. I actually started seeing a few girls regularly, but I wasn't happy with what I was essentially getting all the time. And I also wasn't happy with the vibe of the girls I was dating in England. I've realized this, but looking back on me dating in England, I've always vibed better when it was girls who weren't English. If I was dating foreign girls, especially girls who are from like, America, Australia, South America, I always vibe better with these girls. And it made me realize that like the UK is part of the problem for me. I just don't think of it optimistically or positively. So it was a really easy choice for me to just cross the United Kingdom off. Further to this guy's point though, and like passport broing in general, I don't have a problem with the Western nations. I don't have a problem with Australia specifically. I think Australia is a fantastic place to date. And I think America is a great place to date. I'm so on Canada so far. I've been here for 8 months now. I've done pretty well, but at the same time, I see myself having more... I had a happier dating life in Australia, and when I date American girls, I have more fun than when I date Canadian girls. So it's kind of in my mind at the moment that there is a ranking in the Western countries in terms of how much fun I have in those dating pools. I did also live for 6 months in Mexico. So this is really my only true taste of living in a non-Western country. And I haven't lived in the Asian countries that a lot of guys go to. I haven't lived in like the Eastern countries that a lot of guys go to, but I have done Mexico for 6 months. And Mexico was an interesting experience, mostly because the amount of volume and quality that you get there compared to like, especially if you're white, man, like Mexico is like another world. Like to give you an example, when I was in San Diego, when I got to San Diego, I fired up online dating, and this is Bumble in particular. On Bumble, I was told it was good in San Diego. I'm not usually a big fan of Bumble, but I fired it up and I got like 18 matches on arrival, which is pretty good for like a newbie boost in a city like that. They were pretty good quality. I met a few, dated a couple while I was there, had some success with them. Then I went to Tijuana because I was getting a flight to Guadalajara. So I was only in San Diego. It's like a holiday away from Mexico for a little bit. And I got into Tijuana and I reset Bumble and I was like, I'm only here for a night, but let's see what it's like. I got 300 matches in that first night landing in Tijuana. It was like within a couple of hours. It's pretty crazy the numbers you could do in a country like Mexico. And I've heard similar things about like the Philippines and like a lot of Asian countries, especially for white guys, white Western guys. So there's definitely something to be said for it being easier if you come from a Western country and move out of a Western country. I believe it's also the same thing if you're like not white and you're Western, you still have an advantage, apparently. I don't really know this. This isn't from my experience. I only really know Mexico in terms of non-Western countries. Probably not helping this guy a lot because he's specifically asking about non-Westerns. And I actually really like dating in the West. Most of that's due to my laziness with languages. So I wish I'd learned Spanish a lot more than I had because I really want to go around Latin America more. And I'm going to try and learn Spanish, but I basically landed in Mexico with 3 high school years of Spanish, and I was trying to speed run relearning my Spanish. I never got to a point where I could date a non-English speaking girl and have like a good time, really. It was difficult for me. The language thing is actually a real problem, like, because I spent a lot of time hardcore screening for girls that speak English, and I could see myself moving to like somewhere where there's not a lot of English speakers and just not enjoying my dating life. I just wouldn't enjoy my dating life having to screen so hard just for girls that speak English. I know guys who are in like Asian countries like Korea and stuff who are doing this right now. Like they only really date girls who speak English, and they have to be very specific on the dating apps being like, do you speak English? So I can see that being an issue for me personally. this is very much down to what do you like? Like, what do you like? Do you know what you like in dating? Like, I was realizing that I don't like dating English girls, so I should stay away from the UK. I realized I really enjoyed Australia. So, and I really enjoyed America. So I personally clearly like dating Western women. It's just not the Western women who come from the UK. Side note, that seems to be pretty on the level with a lot of guys who come from the UK. In our community, amongst the British guys, most of us want to get out of the UK. I will say the guys who are in the UK, if you go and date elsewhere and like Western countries that speak English, you'll have a much better time, at least in my experience, and I've been through most of them now. I do intend to travel through Latin America a lot more. So I guess really when it comes to me being a passport bro, I have a lot more of the world left to explore, and really a lot of them are passport bro countries. Like I want to go to Asia, I want to go to Latin America. So I'll be doing more dating in these countries in the future. So I will get back to people, I guess, on my experience with those countries. So yeah, Mexico's my only real experience so far of, non-Western girls. And yeah, I had a good time in Mexico. I really recommend it. I recommend Mexico. It's not as scary as people think it is. It's one of those countries that has been overblown, in my opinion, as long as you stay away from the dangerous areas. That's really my thoughts on Passport Bros. Like, if you want to go and do it for your enjoyment, if you want to leave the country you're in, and part of the reason is you're dating and you want to go and experience dating in another country, no matter what kind of country that is, whether it's third world, whether it's first world, Western still, go and do it because it's your life and your happiness and your enjoyment. And if it would make you happy to go and drop yourself in another dating pool and you can admit to yourself that's something you really want and it's something you'd rather go and do than banging your head against the wall that is your home country and a country you're not enjoying your life in, fucking go for it. Like, don't let people tell you that like it's a bad thing or whatever. Do your research before it. I have a video on going traveling, so I'd go watch that. Check out my advice, specifically around getting laid while traveling. There's a lot of advice out there for like moving country as well. Caleb Jones is really good to watch on that stuff. So yeah, maybe plan ahead, figure out exactly what you want if you can first. Build up your dating ability in your home country as much as you can, so you know that if you do get thrown back home, you can deal with it. But otherwise, enjoy your life, do what the fuck you want.